too strong-willed. My mind is Oh! What the? Ow! Ow! Ah! 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 Oh God! Why? Ah!
Hello everyone, James Stephanie Sterling here. I am filming the intro to today's Jimquisition the night before we publish this video, said as if we don't do that all the time. I am at the Y Theatre in Leicester, having just wrapped up my appearance at Wrestling Resurgence. This was an exact night after we did our own show, Spectrum Wrestling, in which a clown hypnotised my hands and made them wrestle me. And it was amazing, and I'm very tired. And to be honest, you're lucky you're getting a video this week, so I don't want to hear it. If it's shit, it's not shit. And even if it is, I don't want to hear it, because it's not. Even if it is. Yeah.
He is known as the father of Sonic, which, frankly, I don't want to think about too much. Like, I don't want to imagine two humans conceiving and then giving birth to a sapient hedgehog. Or perhaps worse, a person and a hedgehog boning down, and how would that birth work? Like, with Sonic being so much larger in relation to a real hedgehog, he'd have to just straight fucking explode his way out. It's worth noting that Sonic Unleashed had Sonic turn into a werewolf-like monster called the Werehog, which actually makes no sense because the were part stands for man, and not wolf, so Werehog really means man-hog. Was this perhaps a confession by Sega that Sonic the Hedgehog was the blasphemous product of premarital coitus twixt human and hedgehog? Maybe opening this twisted closet of carnal secrets could bring us one step closer to understanding exactly why Sonic Frontiers is the shittest game ever made, and anybody who defends it is a Sorry, I've gone a little off topic, let's start again. He is known as the father of Sonic, even though he didn't really come up with the character on his own, and is the co-creator, not the creator. His name is Yuji Naka, former Sega programmer turned Square Enix employee, and according to reports, these days his motto might not be gotta go fast, so much as gotta go down for insider trading. Naka is allegedly one of several men arrested on suspicion of insider trading at publisher Square Enix, with allegations that he purchased shares worth 2.8 million yen in Japanese game studio Aiming. This purchase was made prior to the announcement that Aiming was developing a free-to-play Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest Tact. I dare say those involved are currently wishing they'd had just a little bit more tact. Another of the men arrested was Taisuke Sasaki, a former Square Enix employee whose lengthy career saw him credited on multiple Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy titles. It's alleged that he'd heard about the Dragon Quest game and used this knowledge to acquire 20.8 million yen in shares over a period of several months. Joining the arrestees is Fumiaki Suzuki, a friend of Sasaki's who bought shares worth 26.4 million yen. Back to Yuji Naka, there are rumours that his arrest might also be in conjunction with additional criminality, chiefly having a hand in the creation of Sonic the Hedgehog. While this is not a crime in and of itself, the fact it led to the eventual development of Sonic Frontiers could be considered grounds for such charges as incitement to riot, criminal negligence, and aggravated hedgehoggery. Such is the seriousness of that particular video game's monstrosity. I'm only joking, of course. Sonic Frontiers isn't a video game. Back to the actual matter at hand. You know, looking at this story of fiscal underhandedness and corporate skullduggery, it's very tempting to respond with a complete lack of surprise, to say it totally tracks that a company like Square Enix would house the kind of corrupt miscreants that would seek financial advantage in prohibited ways. It's very tempting to point at the ways in which Square Enix is very publicly crooked and react with sarcastic shock to highlight how unshocking the story is. Yes, it's very tempting indeed. But we can't fail to address the fact that it's also fun. Example. Oh, I am so surprised that a company so obsessively into cryptocurrency would have issues with insider trading. My stars and garters! Square Enix, a video game publisher whose president openly scoffed at the concept of playing games to have fun, who wants to turn them into second jobs that swindle paying customers into generating income for a fraction of the reward, might employ a few skeevy little fuck baskets. Is nothing sacred anymore that we can't look to Square Enix for wholesome purity and unimpeachable examples of honesty and propriety? Who do we trust now, if we can't trust the people who work for Square Enix? It really is fun to do that, and easy too. It really wasn't that. That voice fucking killed me. There's an important thing to consider in all of this though, and that's the fact that while it is fun and easy to draw a correlation between 3 insider traders and the company they worked for, alleged insider traders, it's not true that Square Enix as a company can be held liable for their actions, alleged actions. Correlation isn't causation, and unless there's any evidence to the contrary, it's reasonable to assume that Naka and the others committed their alleged crimes independently. But admitting that isn't as enjoyable as drawing that correlation and using it as an excuse to shit on Square Enix, so that's what we're doing. Square Enix are, after all, a bunch of cunts. And yes, Sonic Frontiers fans, that's a real example of me directly insulting a video game company. Pointing out how fucking gross Square Enix has become this year is one of my favourite things to do these past 11 months. Even years before this, I was warning everyone just how slimy a path this edifice of corpo cockery was walking. Last year, I called them out on pure hack-level products, like that insultingly threadbare Neo mobile game that consisted mostly of walking and was brainless self-playing bullshit when actual gameplay did happen and existed only as a pathetic excuse to sell microtransactions. And this was all before Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda wrote his infamous pro-crypto letter we alluded to earlier, where he pushed concepts like play to earn and the metaverse and those fucking NFTs in such a way as to come off as goddamn fucking creepy. And boy, have they been humping the pus-filled udders of the NFT cash cow like depraved little perverts this year. NFTs, a bubble that burst over the course of a few short months, a scam in which people paid vast sums to pretend to own things, which literally damaged the environment and was a scam so scammy it was beset with sub-scams within sub-scams within sub-scams. This is the company that sold major franchises including Tomb Raider and Deus Ex for a relative pittance, in part because it wanted to invest in crypto, right before the fucking market crashed. And who can forget that time Square Enix shit all over the environmentalist themes of Final Fantasy VII by letting you buy an NFT of a Final Fantasy VII toy so that you could pretend to own a toy that you'd already bought because it came with the toy. Fucking clownish behaviour. Even now, the arse candles at Square continue to try and make NFTs a thing. Just 2 weeks ago, the publisher announced a playable NFT collectible art experience, where the playable characters are sold as digital art. Basically a shit video game where you buy JPEGs of characters, which is kind of what they did roughly a decade ago with Final Fantasy All the Bravest. Speaking of shit games, they've had some fucking blinders. We must talk of Babylon's Fall, perhaps the lowest Platinum Games has ever sunk. A desperate live service released years too late to capitalise on the trend. Ugly, broken, pitifully sub-mediocre action. It's a game that released to such a small audience that so few people cared to play that Square Enix announced the live service would die just months after its fucking release. Yeah, if you didn't know that, it lasted a few months. And now they're shutting it down. What a shit show. Then there are games like Chocobo GP that were crammed with excessive microtransactions, battle passes, shit like that, aimed at children. by the way. This is the trajectory Square Enix has been on for years, sinking its oily fingers into every rotten con the games industry has ever embraced. Crypto, NFTs, live services, battle passes, microtransactions, cheaply cobbled together mobile games, as despicable in its AAA indulgences as EA, Activision and all the rest. So basically, it doesn't matter if insider traders are an issue inherent to Square Enix or not. Insider traders are sneaky fucks. Square Enix are fucking sneaks. So they deserve each other.
Sheffield, England. Rejoice! You are joined by the polyantagonist princess, the queen of the ring. We are intergalactically intergender. We've got quick wits, tight fits, glitter, glitz, and big fat tits. We are Commander Stephanie Sterling, Priscilla, Queens of the Space Age.
What is this? What is this nonsense?
Sweating, it's hot up here. What was he saying? Right, yes. I've said it before, I'll say it again as many times as it needs to be said. Investigate every video game company. I mean, look at Activision Blizzard. They engage in legal insider trading called buybacks. Look it up. We've done several videos on it. Look at how openly corrupt these companies are, and then imagine what kind of shady shit they do that they're actually ashamed of. I used to say that about Activision Blizzard, and then all the allegations came out. So there you go. I'm going to go now because it's very clattery, because they're putting an actual wrestling ring away, and I don't want to hear complaints about it, the noise, because you're lucky you're getting one. It's not. You're lucky.
Steph,
What?
you haven't said it.
Oh, thank God.